Yo, JD here, 211, and we are back on F1 2020. And this is a type of video that I really miss making. This is my Hotlap and setup series that I am very determined to actually complete on this game. And the main purpose of this is to go into every single time trial, a track order, calendar order, and pretty much just provide a very good baseline setup to everyone. So one that people can use online, feel comfortable, and hopefully be very quick with. So we're going to go through 2 laps here, the first time round, and then the second time we're going to go in a lot more detail. So going into turn 1, going up into 8th gear, we'll be braking between the 2 last boards, 150 meter board, carrying so much speed going through this turn 1 into this next right-hander. Look at the 100 meter board here as you pass that very late downshift into 2nd gear. Don't use all the track, about middle of the track, and then be as early as you can on the throttle. You can see very aggressive on the throttle application on this lap so far. This one is a very difficult braking zone, but braking in a straight line, slow in, fast out, and then make sure you stay nice and tight to the right-hand side, because you actually gain quite a bit of time by doing that. 100 meter board once again, go down to 3rd gear, and as soon as you hit the curb, up into 4th to really maximise the traction and help prevent wheel spin. Nice and tight to the left-hand side, going up into 8th gear, last brake marker board. As you pass that is your turning in point. A little dab through here and try and carry as much speed as possible before getting on the next DRS zone. 100 meter board again, so that's 1, 2. Once you hit that, going down 4th gear, last minute again. Use all the curb on the exit. Last brake marker board, that's your turning in point. 5th gear, up into 6th. Drift out to the right-hand side, braking a straight line. Late apex in 2nd gear. Try and use as much of the track as you can, but try and go as close as you can to flat out as we get on the other DRS, final DRS zone, going across the line. That is a 1:19.0, and that was enough for the current world record on Xbox, which I was very happy with, because a lot of very competitive people have done it so far, and I felt that lap a lot more in the tank as well. We can see we're actually down this middle sector. But now we actually go through the lap once again in a little bit more detail. Try and break it down as much as I can. So going into here, I said once you pass that back box, you want to be braking between the final 2 brake marker balls. 4th gear, use as much curve as you can. And look at the throttle application. Look how early we are on this full throttle, because it can gain you so much time. Going to this corner, 100 meter board, as I said before, once it goes out of view, that is your braking point. 3rd gear, 2nd gear, try and drift out as much as you can before the back box. That is your turning in point, and again, very aggressive on that throttle pedal. This corner, probably the trickiest braking zone on this track, but I actually use that shadow. That's what I'm looking for. Straight line, slow in, fast out. Nice and tight to the right-hand side, and a very simple braking zone here. Won't be looking just after the 100 meter board as you go into there. 3rd gear, and once you hit that curve, 4th gear, it is crucial you go into 4th gear there, because you will find you will just spin up your rears if you don't do that. Going to this corner, the final brake marker board, that is your turning in point. A very light dab on the brakes, and try and carry as much momentum as you can as we stay just about within the track limits. Pay attention to my downshifts here. 1, 2, 3. 4th gear, last minute, really helps with the stability. Last brake marker board, that's your turning in point. And this corner is quite an unusual one as well. You really want to be focusing on this black box. Drift towards this black box. And then once you start braking, your turning in point is once you go past that. This corner again, use a lot of the track, but not all the track. Try and keep your car in the middle of the straight line. That is your turning in point. Be very aggressive on the throttle and make your way to the line. And as you saw before, it is a 19.0, which I'm really happy with, in fact, because on Xbox, they do not have the latest handling build, which is actually less downforce. On PC, I found I was going 3/10 quicker than this with a setup. I did an 18.7 on PC, and that's because we don't have as much downforce, but the setup is exactly the same as what I use. And I think if anything, it's going to benefit you more. But you can see, currently number 1, which I was very happy with. I think a lot of time still in that as well, which you'll be able to see by my theoretical at the end of this video. But the setup I'm using, once I load it, I feel is going to be very good. The only thing I would change is maybe the tire pressures a little bit when you come to play online. But you can see here, full 9 wings. Sorry if I said that too enthusiastic, but I think the setup explanation video I did earlier today, I think I said full 9 wings would be probably a good starting point. And it is. I think it gives you a good combination of downforce and rear stability. And again, got to think of it as an orchestra in components with the other parts of the setup. You can see transmission, I think 50 on throttle is going to be the norm, and a very, very low off throttle for that extra rotation. That is where you're going to get the rotation from quite a bit in the setup. I don't think you really want to be going any higher than 70 on the off throttle. Suspension geometry. This is very, very interesting. This geometry is really built for high speed. So it's a lot of good stability. It's going to be maybe not as responsive initially, but it's just going to feel very, very planted in high speed, which this game, you really want to be carrying a lot of speed through the apex. And I think this is going to be quite a good compromise for each track, but I think we'll imagine it will be quite different. This one here, 1.8 on the suspension. The 8 is going to make the rear a lot more responsive. So, no, this is really in conjunction with the wings. It's just making sure you have a balance between the two. And the 1.8 is what is going to give you this rotation. And with the 11.9, this is going to give you quite a responsive front end. But the rear is now going to be slightly softer, which again really helps with the balancing. And then 2.4 I think is a really good compromise, very good over curbs. 100% brake pressure, I think you're going to see that every single track. And the 50 front, or sorry, the 50 brake bias more towards the rear, I think you're going to be running that every single point. But this part here, slightly higher on the front tyre pressures, because that will really help with a little bit more responsiveness on the front end since we're running the full 9 wings. But I think in an actual race situation, you will probably see the same kind of pattern with the tyre pressures where the fronts are high, but I think it's going to be a lot lower. And you can see my theoretical was almost an 18 if we actually hooked up all our best sectors. So that is my first video in the Hotlap and Setup series. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be moving on to the next track. Try and do this on a daily basis because I'm really going to try and focus on this as much as I can. But I felt that was a very good lap. Although it will probably be beaten, but I will save it for another video when the handling is updated for me to try and reclaim that. But it felt like a very, very nice lap. Hopefully you've learned something, and I will catch you soon. Peace.